always you're in control. But the idea ultimately is that we want you spending, the vast majority of your time with clients, talking with them and really understanding kind of who they are and what they need and helping them with that. And then, ideally, once you have those discussions, you just scan, click, and things just happen for you. And it sounds a little far-fetched, but it's possible. Like you'll see this in the next couple of years for sure out of us.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Don't Do That podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Waltrich, and with me today I have Mark Gilbert of Zocks, CEO and founder at Zocks. Amazing business that we want to hear all about. So welcome, Mark.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks for joining me. Yeah. So I'm not going to embarrass you, but what's going on in your background there? Where are you?
You are embarrassing me. This is my office. I've always hang out in this nice little spot here. Because of my fantastic scheduling ability, I am not at home right now, and I'm in a ski lodge of all places.
Amazing.
So it's good. It's late in the day here, so excited to do this now.
Awesome.
But yeah, I got some skiing in this morning, so it's great.
Awesome. All right, Mark. So tell us a little bit about you, your background, and about the amazing business that you're building.
Yeah. So really quickly on me, I'm a engineer, like software engineer by trade, and a product person. So I love building products. I built a ton of products at Microsoft, a lot of enterprise and kind of high scale platforms there, leading up all the way to Azure towards the end of my career there. And then I was at a company called Hearsay Social, which actually just sold recently to Yext. And it was focused purely on advisors and insurance agents, actually, and brokers. Built out a lot there, and then ran a lot at Twilio, which is most people don't know this unless they're in tech, but essentially a communication layer underneath everything. So if you ever get like a text message or call your Uber driver or get a text message from WhatsApp, that's actually Twilio. So I built out a lot. Love working in and with financial services specifically, just because I find it's an area that there's so much technology that could help, and it's pretty hard for a lot of people to use off the shelf stuff for a bunch of reasons. So that's me. And then, 2.5 years ago, we started Zocks. It's been a crazy ride, a lot of learnings, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But essentially, we are an AI system that helps financial advisors and the firms they work for scale by helping with client meetings, helping prep, helping follow up, basically capturing all the information they need. We also will let them query across the clients or books of business to understand what's going on in their business and do things like reply to emails from clients, as well as fill out forms and things like that. So all of the things typically that advisors and their teams don't love doing, we use AI to do that for them and just save them a bunch of time.
Got it. Okay, so you spend a lot of time at Hearsay. You fall in love with the advisor business. Like, what's the inspiration for building something like this? What was the moment?
So there's a couple of moments at Twilio, I was the exec sponsor for a bunch of banks and insurance companies, and they kept asking to see inside the communications. So for those who don't know, like Twilio, you'll use software to make phone calls, text messages, all that. They wanted to know what was going on. I got super deep into AI at that point and just seeing kind of what was going on. And there's a lot of huge breakthroughs, frankly, from 2016 on. And then a lot of people probably haven't seen these products, but in the sales world, there's products like Gong. There's a product called Chorus that got acquired. And so we saw those come out just before that and saw the power. And they were fairly simple products, but good, but simple. And so when we looked at what was possible, we just thought, this is amazing. We talked to some financial advisors, and 100% across the board, they were like, if you can do anything close to this, we'll take it. Like, we just hate doing this stuff. And, then they know they need to do it, but they just hate doing it. So that was it. We just kicked off right away. We got really good investor support and started running.
Awesome. Okay. So it's no secret that this category of tool has gotten a lot of interest, and there are other players in this space, and you are competing, but I feel very strongly that you have a product that stands above the rest. So give our listeners the reasons that Zocks is the choice for them as they're looking through all these options and they're trying to figure out what to do with AI in their business. Like, help them figure that out.
We keep it simple with 3 big things. One is your clients don't want to get recorded. They don't speak as much openly, like they're not as open if they're getting recorded.
Right.
Frankly, your compliance teams probably don't want recordings either, but we look at it more from a privacy client point of view. So we don't record by default, and we're the only ones that can do that. We don't have to erase recordings because we literally never have them. We do that in person for in-person meetings, phone calls, Zoom, Teams, any of these types of calls. So that's a huge one. Second thing is we get deeper data and what we call structured data. So what it allows us to do is reason across meetings. So you can ask our system things like, tell me anyone with kids or grandkids a no education plan or 529 plan. You can say, like essentially whatever you want. Tell me everyone who plays golf or plays soccer. And because we have the structured data, you can actually query across it, kind of what you're hoping your CRM system probably would do early on. And we put all that
Right.
data into CRM. So that's a huge piece. And then the third one for us is that we have an extensible platform with deeper integrations. So with all the CRM systems we work with, and very shortly custodial systems, planning systems, we have these two ways integration. So you can ask a question, so we'll reply back. And frankly, ultimately, it's just saving a bunch of time. That's what allows us to generate emails for people and help them reply to client meetings, generate forms and all this. It's these deep integrations in the platform. So we do very well with, again, people who care a lot about security or privacy, people who have a platform, like where they want more of a scale, and then people who just want richer data on their clients, like not just notes, but essentially really understanding the clients and the households.
Very cool. Okay, so this industry is stuck on a couple of marketing taglines. Everybody says we help you grow, everybody says we help you scale, and everybody says we save you time. It doesn't matter if it's an investment management firm or a technology or an RA. These are the things that everybody is saying, and it is hard to escape, right? But I heard through the grapevine somebody say that they are saving a extraordinary amount of time by implementing your product. So give me a sense of like what you expect the average advisor to be able to save in terms of time and energy and frustration. And let's be real, like what is the reality of that? What are they going to save by using this?
Yes. So we see a lot of impact there, and it's been like, I'll talk a little bit more about deployments and why that's so helpful. But so generally, if someone is working with a client meeting, it depends based on the firm, but typically you're looking at 45 minutes to an hour between prep and follow up from that. We can shrink that down to literally 3 or 4 minutes. We have people just scan and go. And so if someone is running just even, let's say, 10 meetings a week, right away you can see them saving 7, 8, 9 hours. They do a few different things with that. Some people take their time back because they're doing it on Saturdays or Thursday nights till midnight.
Right.
But I would say most advisors we see take that 8 to 10 hours and just do more client facing things and build their business. It's quite impactful. In addition to that, the people who are using our email data to reply to emails, what we see is either the advisor or associates typically spending between 1 to 2 hours a day taking those emails, figuring out the client situation and replying. And so they're getting an hour back or more from that. And then the other huge advantage is that they're able to get back to clients in 5 to 10 minutes instead of often waiting until end of day or the next day because they have to pull all this data. So those are the two biggest things, I think, just from deployments that we see. And there's a huge pull. Like we see this, Carson has been a great customer of ours. We deployed across their whole pure RIA base in under 5 weeks and with over 90% weekly activity. It's phenomenal because people are saving time on these things, again, that they don't love doing.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I feel like it's been a long time since any tool in the industry could give back that much time, and
Yeah,
everybody
it's hours. It is
it's
hours.
ours.
And it's hours
Yeah.
that people hate doing, right? It's almost like
Yes.
me being like, hey, you don't have to commute anymore. Or, you could snap your
Yes.
fingers and teleport to your office or it's
Yes.
that kind of stuff. So it's very impactful.
Very cool. Okay, so last question before we get into the don't do that. You are early on in this journey, right? And there's obviously a lot more to come from you. Give us a sense of like what is your long-term vision? Like what can clients of Zocks expect if they get on the ride now for years to come?
Yeah, so I think what we see now is a lot of people start with what we call kind of replacing, their current thing. So they want to put a note in CRM, we'll give them a note, they put it in CRM. They want to take follow-ups, they want to get an email to a client. That's great, saves them a bunch of time.
Yeah.
But almost always in these situations, and what we're really focused on is once you have better data on your clients, and we get very good, deep, like what we call dense data,
Yeah.
there's a huge amount of things you can start to do for them, right? So like we know what life events are getting hit by them, and imagine like taking your firm and kind of knowing exactly which of your clients are going through which life events, being able to check and automatically kick off things for them. So let's say someone bought a house, even it sounds simple, but sending them baskets, things like that. Someone has kids, grandkids, sending them thoughtful presents. Someone maybe is going through a harder time, like a death of a parent or illness or things like that. Like, have we reached out to them? Have we done all these things? And the system can do a lot of this for you now, and we'll start to do more and more of this. Always you're in control. But the idea ultimately is that we want you spending, the vast majority of your time with clients, talking with them and really understanding kind of who they are and what they need and helping them with that. And then, ideally, once you have those discussions, you just scan, click, and things just happen for you. And it sounds a little far fetched, but it's possible. Like you'll see this in the next couple of years for sure out of us.
I totally believe that. Okay, Mark, you know the premise of this show. It's don't do that. And we get a little vulnerable. We talk about some stupid things that we've done. It's been an interesting journey for me, and I've heard some of the coolest things. So what's your don't do that? What are we not doing today?
I would say we're starting to do this now, which is great, but it's pretty new. There's a lot of these, honestly, in the last couple of years that I could go through. The biggest one for us is the founding team for us are all kind of product and engineering people. And so this is right up your alley, but it's essentially selling and marketing. Like we got into a situation very quickly where, any good product person does product research, chats with
Yes.
people, does all this stuff. We got a ton of good feedback. And so we had a ton of people who were like, yeah, I'll try it. I'll try it. This is great. And and because of that, we were just like, great, we have people trying it. Like, this is fun. And, for a product person, having people use your product is great.
Yes.
But because of that, we delayed probably for 9 to 12 months, like truly marketing and selling. And I would say marketing is the bigger one, like as a learning for me.
Yeah.
Mostly because, everyone's just busy and they want to know, like, first of all, that's it. Like marketing, as you know, Kelly, is a skill, right? Like it takes time to learn. It takes time to do well. It takes time
Yes.
to tune for every kind of like situation.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, again, the feedback was so good. We were just like, oh, this is great. Everyone will just kind of know about it. And you realize like everyone's just super busy and you really want to get them the right information, not too much information, but the right information at the right time. And for me, that's like kind of the magic of marketing, right? Like right when someone's thinking about it, they hear exactly what's relevant to them, all the way through to like opening up the product, seeing the first demo and using it. That should just feel like a big flow.
Yep.
And we really didn't start that front of the funnel for, as I said, probably 9 months. We should have started 9 months earlier. We should have started as soon as we basically were getting positive feedback, frankly.
Yeah. It's so interesting. And I don't think enough people realize. So everybody that's listening, like the timing of your marketing is so important. I learned this the hard way at Orion too, Mark. Like we would be pushing updates and enhancements and bug fixes and whole new products and whole new services and all the time. And it's like, okay, so if you talk too far in advance and it didn't happen the way you said it was going to happen, everybody stops listening and they stop believing you, right? And
Yeah.
so you get the chance to earn trust once. Really, one time you get the chance to get it right. And if you go too late, then you might have a competitor get out in front of you, or you might have your sales team playing catch up on a goal otherwise. So I am super passionate about this too, right? So guys, anybody that's listening, like Marks don't do that is really smart. It's thinking through the timing of your your true go to market and your marketing and your sales as you're building, as you're thinking about your next service, as you're thinking about your next product. I think that that's so smart. So Mark, what give our folks here advice in terms of like how do you get it right?
Well, I don't know. I'm the best person to ask because I just told you I got it wrong. But the two things I would say that are like one thing I'll just say to echo something that you said is really for founders. Like I had come out of two companies, three, including Microsoft, depending on your
Yeah.
view of their marketing. But like Twilio, you know, we viewed it very much as like a developer-led company. It was really for developers. Like that's the customer. The marketing team there was kind of like behind the scenes and super powerful. And so you almost just took it for granted, right? They just knew exactly like this is how to reach people. This is when to reach them. They have an amazing content engine that again, all
Yeah.
these things you take for granted. And you're like, yeah, of course it's a good product. And then at Hearsay, one of our co-founders, 𝗲𝗲𝗃, is a phenomenal marketer. Like just really, and like as you've seen this before, it's like it's so good you don't notice it,
Yeah.
and so you come out of those and you almost get tricked into thinking like this isn't, a big thing, or it's just something we'll go do. And I like my lesson that I would give anyone right now because I am definitely not an expert at it, is just start earlier and try things, and there's some really good books out there and everything else around like, what channels to try and how to do that. But the reality is, like, I think just like building a product or anything else, it takes time to figure out. You have to get some principles that you live by, exactly as you said, Kelly, of like, you want to make sure you're delivering on what you're saying. You want to make sure you're open, but you also want to get people excited about things.
Right.
And it just takes time to figure it out. So like, it's not something where you can, start and be like, yeah, in a month or two, we'll be marketing. Like, this will be great. Like, it takes a while. And obviously you can speed it up a little bit with someone who knows, has been through it and has done. But I think, as well, like, brands take a while to create, right? Like, it's even someone who's done it a bunch of times, still, you have to do things, say it, deliver, say it, deliver, say it, deliver, and then things, go up.
Yeah.
One of the, I'll say, the slight positives that we did do is with this early adopter program that we ran for a while, we just gave a lot to all of those people, and we got a ton of very good credibility and, frankly, like, referrals and just call outs and everything else that have been super helpful for us in the industry without really planning that. And so
Yeah.
it is, like, do what you say, help customers. And if you're really doing what you're doing, it helps. But yeah, I would just say whatever you think, start earlier.
Yeah.
Start earlier.
Oh my gosh, that's such good advice. I just put together what I'm calling the marketing sophistication continuum, because I think that not only is the timing of your marketing important, but there's also sort of an order to it. Like, you don't get to
Yes, I believe that.
start doing the highly sophisticated things and until you build your brand. Like, we have so many clients come to Intentionally and they're like, we need all the leads. And it's like, well, first people need to know who you are. Like, that you
Yeah.
and as a founder of a marketing agency, this is a tug of war. And I've talked about this before that I have. It's like, okay, I want to get you to your goals, but like, there are some baseline things that have to happen before, because otherwise you're paying so much more for every at bat. So I think it's you got to get the timing right and you got to get the things right. But I think that's really good advice for everyone. I think that translates to RIAs in an interesting way too. I mean, you guys are all trying to figure out your own marketing and how do you go about it. And I think what Mark is telling you is just start now. Like, you have to
It's
start
very
somewhere.
much like compound interest. Like, you can't just start whatever content or whatever else and just assume next week you're going to be getting a ton of, business from it. But it
Right.
grows slow and then it just hits. And to your point, like, it's very easy. This is another kind of, I'll say, trap, like, in the same area that we fell into, is it's very easy to look at companies with really good, like, large companies with great marketing and being like, we should be doing that. And you realize, like, they've been building those brands for 20 plus years, right? Like, you can't just start there.
Yep. It's so true. It's so true. You're speaking to my heart here. Okay. So if you're saying that this is your don't do that, you clearly are working to remedy it. What are we going to see from you and your team over the next couple of months or the rest of the year? Are we going to see an amped up Zocks
We are
effort?
going to see an amped up Zocks effort. Absolutely. There's a few different aspects to that. So one is, as I mentioned, we've had a lot of fantastic customers. We've been so busy, and they're happy to speak for us. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
tell their story. And so
Yep.
a huge piece is that, and we get a lot of referrals, which is great, but just that whole, like, kind of case study customer engine, you're going to see a lot of that. I think over time I've learned, and everyone, I think, kind of in the industry knows this, like, it's way better to have other people talk about your things, and frankly, people in those roles, right? Like, they're more genuine to just know the details more than I do. So
Yep.
that's a huge piece for us. We have a very high, what we would call, product velocity. Like, there's just things coming out quickly. And so we are going to be a lot more just,
Oh, cool.
regular and just, broader on announcing, like, what are those things? Here's what's just come.
Yep.
We're lucky enough where we have so much there that we don't even really need to talk about the future much. We can literally talk about, like, this month, which is great. As a company, we're growing, so I think that always helps, like, both with investments and some really key employees and some great employees. So you'll see that. And then the other thing for us that has just been is really good, and I think this industry, is we love meeting people in person. And so, like, conferences, trade shows, all of those things, people want to learn more about AI. They want to learn about the impact. So we're literally, if you looked at our calendar for the next 6 months, like, I think most of the executive team is at a
Everywhere.
conference or exhibit, every week, basically. And so hopefully for anyone, we'll start to see people, and we just love meeting people in person as, like, customers. It's
That's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, I think everybody, it's funny when you look at ROI of marketing tactics. Everybody gets a little crazy about events because it looks like they are more expensive than a digital lead or whatever else you're doing. But at the end of the day, I'm still very much a believer that you can't even quantify the goodwill and the amount of future benefit that you're going to get from just shaking hands with people and getting to know people. This industry
Totally.
is small. It's so small.
Like the brand building is great. People are out in that, and it's like it's funny, but it's very hard to attribute events. Like it's very easy if someone comes by, speaks to you, and then buys your product a day later.
Right.
But like that's not what happens, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, and we just see that. Like often you'll see people at a few different events and just kind of built a relationship with them, which is awesome. And as you said, it's a very doesn't feel small some days, but it's a small industry and people know each other, so it matters a lot.
Yeah. All right, so let's end with this. So tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, where they can find you, where they can see you next in person. Give all of our listeners a way to learn about your product and get to meet you.
Yeah, so the company website is Zocks.io, Zocks.io. You can go there and chat with us, set up time, whatever you want. info@Zocks.io, email can grab us. And we're everywhere, as I mentioned, in the next bit. So we're at Futureproof. We're at conferences this week. By the time you'll hear this, it'll be too late. T3,
Yes.
a number of broker-dealer shows, as well as a lot of conferences. Like if you're basically at an AI talk or a broader conference in the next 3 months, just take a look for Zocks because there's a good chance we're going to be there. But reach out to us on the website too, and happy to set up time and show you what we got.
Awesome. All right, everybody. For our listeners out there, as a reminder, Mark is telling us you got to start your marketing. You got to start going. You can't wait. You're going to get to a point where you wish you started earlier. I think this is a very fitting topic for me as well. I'm really passionate about it. He's right. It's a compounding effect. So the sooner you start, the better it gets. Mark, thank you so much for your time. I love your team. I love your product. I'm really excited to watch you guys grow. So cheers to future success.
Awesome, Kelly. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to be notified when new episodes become available. And please consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. This podcast is sponsored by Intentionally, a financial services growth engine design consultancy and agency. If you want to learn more, please email me at kelly@growintentionally.com. Thank you again for listening, and check back to hear what we're not doing next.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Kelly Waltrich. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only.